Carlson entered the game in the sixth as a pinch hitter.
Well, and the way he's swinging the bat, I think you wanted him to swing away anyway.
Jackson at third carries the potential winning run.
The pitch. Swinging a line drive to the left. It drops. Base hit. And the Rays win.
A base hit off the bat of Carlson, scoring Jackson. And the Rays win this one in 12. It's an 8-7 final.
Dylan Carlson walked off the D-backs yesterday to secure the sweep for the Rays. We welcome in their president of baseball operations, Erik Neander. Carlson has been much better since coming over to you. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, thanks for having me, and appreciate DC understanding that moment and just doing what he needed to do to get the job done and shooting the ball the other way off the plate. But he's been great. I don't know, 25 years old, and a lot of talk about the potential benefits of him just that could come with a fresh start. St. Louis has talked about it. That was part of the reason that we brought him in, was just to see what happens with a fresh start, new opportunity, new situation, different expectations, what could happen. And certainly here in the early going, couldn't be more pleased with what we've gotten out of him.
Hey, Erik, you guys have been so good at buying low on players. I think when I need some help in picking stocks, I'm going to you. Another guy I think of other than DC is Christopher Morel. What did you like about him when you made that deal with Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, well, in terms of players performing well here, we got from Cashy and our whole staff that just do a remarkable job of helping players find confidence and finding things, their abilities that belong in the big leagues and a way to get success. And somebody that, put together a really good year last year, this year early on, had a hard time finding space on the field for hits to get down. And maybe that compounded a little bit, led him to chasing some things that took him away from his strengths. But just live-bodied athlete, great energy, great worker, bat speed, power output has been there. Signs of him growing as a hitter. Strikeouts have been down a little better control of his strike zone. Just in a situation where, a lot of our decisions right now are to learn as much as we can to stay competitive this year, but also put us in a stronger position to 25. And believe there's a pretty big engine underneath, and just a matter of learning the pieces, and ideally packaging up in a way to be the kind of talent that we traded away in that deal.
Yeah, let's talk about those decisions back at the trade deadline. The 30,000-foot view was no blockbusters, not much to talk about. Busy as usual for you. A lot of guys coming and going, a couple of position players, 4 pitchers. I get the sense that you guys need to take advantage of that window of opportunity transactionally. How is this year different, or maybe the same for past deadlines for Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it was difficult. Look, the decisions that we made were the result of us not winning at the rate that we were expecting this group to win at, and that's disappointing. We talked for months of believing we had a better than 500 team. When we looked over the talent, the roster, what came back from last year, how they performed, it just wasn't happening, at the rate that it needed to keep up with, Kansas City, Boston, some of the teams ahead of us, Seattle, so on. So it put us in a position where when things aren't quite going our way, how much do you push to really double down on the current season, and how much do you reconsider getting ahead of business for 2025 and making sure that for seasons to come, we can stay in a competitive position. And that's something that's always important to us, is trying to be competitive in as many seasons as possible, looking to avoid a 3, 4, 5-year lull to build it back up. And yeah, like I said, unfortunately, we just were in a spot this year where we weren't quite where we wanted to be, not a white flag, but not quite where we wanted to be. And it led us to prioritizing making sure that our future was a little bit better protected. But really a difficult month to go through. A lot of wonderful people we had to say goodbye to, try to do right by them. And again, what we brought back for now and for later down the line, we're really, really excited about it and feel like it's what we needed to do.
Erik, we saw how the game Sunday ended. High point, obviously, with the walk-off hit. But getting there, some concern. Injuries, we saw Yandy Diaz go out. We saw Pete Fairbanks go out. That's your leadoff hitter, your closer. Give us an update on what you know right now about where they stand health-wise.
Yeah, Yandy's in Oakland, out west with the team, was on the flight. No breaks there, did all the imaging diagnostics as the game went on and before we left town. So he should be okay. Going to be sore, got it pretty good. There's a deep bruise there. but no breaks. So he should be fine. Pete is staying back to do some imaging to get a better idea. I know Kevin Cash after the game yesterday alluded to concern for a right lat. That's still where we are. We're waiting for updates, but it will be an IL, and just hoping for the best with the diagnostics at this point.
You mentioned Kevin Cash. Over the weekend, he was not afraid to sit down Jose Siri. For the 3-game series, benched him, didn't like the effort. He wants a more consistent look from his players. You've been around him a long time, Erik. How much are you involved in those kind of decisions, and what does this say, the message to your team from Kevin?
Yeah, look, the daily lineups and who's playing, who's not, and how that goes, that's him. And most days I don't know the lineup much before I take a look up on the board as we're getting to go. And yeah, full trust in Kevin and the staff to navigate that part. But when it comes to what we're trying to accomplish, be it culturally, having young players, especially right now, right, post deadline, we moved some offense, and we haven't scored many runs the last few weeks, and any opportunities we have to score runs, the effort's got to be there, and there was a play the other day where Walls was running on the plate a second and beat it out, and Posey went down the line in a way that he himself will be the first one to say that's not acceptable. It's not what I can do. But Posey's he's a great man. He cares. Just that moment got him, and the emotions got him. A bit of frustration that showed in a way that wasn't very productive. But this is a group right now that they've been scuffling, but the energy's been great. They've been putting the work in, and I think that's something that we want to make sure that we protect. And there's a standard that's upheld there, and just. Like I said, and like Cashy said, we work closely on that and want to make sure that, the players putting the work in and the energy, and it's consistent, and the effort's there on the field. We can control those things as we're scuffling, and it's got to be there right now. So we know that, and he'll be okay.
Erik, let's talk about your pitching, because we mentioned the trades at the deadline. You did move some veteran pitchers, but I'm sure you knew, obviously, you had guys coming back, and we've seen them throw the ball well. Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen, Shane Baz has been good for you. How does this set you up for the final 6-7 weeks here? What can you expect from those guys in particular coming off the injuries?
Yeah, I think, look, this is just trying to make the most of our circumstances, and our record is not where we want it to be necessarily, and we're still hanging in. We're trying to win games and do what we need to do, but it does afford us the opportunity with Jeffrey, with Drew, with Shane, all coming back from significant elbow injuries. There's not a switch that's flipped. You go out there, you're active. You don't necessarily return to the form and where you were prior. Every now and again you do, but most it takes a little time. So just affording them some grace and patience to build their foundation here. Everything on all three of them has looked really good, and just about providing them reps the rest of the way to get where they need to go. But Jeffrey the other day, the changeup was locked in, the command was locked in. He's not a power pitcher. It's feel, it's command, it's execution. And each passing rep, we've seen more and more of that and him returning to where he was. But it takes a little time. Same thing for Shane, who is a power pitcher but doesn't have as much major league experience underneath him. And then with Ras, couldn't be more pleased to see him back out there with everything that he's gone through in a third major, elbow surgery. And we'll be out of the pen this year working in multis for the most part, a role he's done in the past with great success. And we'll get to the offseason and revisit his role. But he's 97 to 100, and everything looks like he's one of those where he might have just happened to be picked up where he left off. And that's exciting to see.
On the topic of pitchers and injuries, your club hit particularly hard with pitcher injuries. It's an issue throughout the sport. Your pitching coach, Kyle Snyder, has talked about the importance of not always throwing max effort. Is that something you're trying to implement with your pitchers moving forward?
Yeah, nothing unfortunate. We really went through it in 23, especially. So, that was difficult, but this year, knock on wood, we've been able to manage that. But no new revelation, nothing that's necessarily changed our thoughts and our theories. Kyle's been through it. He's been a high draft pick. He's had high expectations. He's had injuries. He understands that, and he cares as much as anybody when it comes to having these guys perform at the highest level possible, but also being available. And we're right there with him. So just continuing to learn, where that intersection is for health, availability, and production, as well as the rest of the industry. But no, we're always learning, always growing, and certainly it's something that as an industry we're all trying to grapple with and better understand right now.
We appreciate your availability, and the view from your office is splendid.
I like it better when we're playing and games account, but yeah, no, we'll take it. It could be worse.
Thanks
Lucky
so
to be
much.
here.